Do we blame the anti-vax movement for that?
Well, yes.
Some are calling for penalties like higher healthcare premiums, even jail time.
These anti-vaxxers, they're crazy. They're wearing tinfoil hats.
These outbreaks are due to the anti-vaccine movement.
Welcome everyone, I'm Spiro with an important update. Recently I reported on how George Soros is funding a campaign to silence climate deniers on YouTube. I've also reported how at Event 201, the coronavirus pandemic exercise, they openly discussed censoring content online, which may question the official coronavirus narrative, even suggesting jail time for those who post misinformation or fake news online about the virus. Since then, we have seen the social media companies announce their plans to silence what they call misinformation regarding the outbreak. Another key group hated by the establishment, which was also discussed at Event 201, is known as the anti-vaccine movement. And now we see the UK government working on a new law to jail people who spread anti-vaccine propaganda online. The article, which was posted by The Telegraph, says currently people are protected from prosecution if they sincerely believe the misinformation or propaganda is real. Now, the government is looking to reform this provision and make it a criminal offense to post anything online, particularly on social media, which is deemed to be anti-vaccine. So what's next? Mandatory vaccines? Actually, yes, in some cases, it's already happening. For example, in California, children are required to be vaccinated in order to attend schools. Nurses are required to take the flu shot or they will lose their job. And right now, in the UK, they are currently working to make vaccines compulsory for children who attend state schools. Now, I personally do not consider myself to be anti-vaccine whatsoever. I believe people should be able to choose what's best for themselves and their families. And that's mostly how it's been, more or less, but this is rapidly changing. I have interviewed top doctors and nurses who not only question the toxic ingredients known as adjuvants often found in vaccines, but the profit-driven motivation to push them. And the revolving door between the government and big pharmaceutical has been widely documented, even by the mainstream media. A recent example, the last FDA commissioner, Scott Gottlieb, resigned his position as the top federal drug regulator and was immediately hired by Pfizer, the top drug producer in the U.S. Now, the move came with a nice cash bonus as well as stock options, which doubled the former commissioner's income to upwards of $330,000. Now, big pharmaceutical, i.e. the drug and vaccine manufacturers, have a heavy influence in Washington as they lobby politicians and fund political campaigns. They also essentially pocketed the media by funding them through their advertisements. And the vaccine manufacturers are actually protected from any liability in the case that someone experiences an adverse event or an injury from their products through the Vaccine Compensation Fund, which is a program that financially compensates victims of vaccine injuries, paid for, of course, with U.S. tax dollars. As of October 2019, the Vaccine Compensation Fund has paid $4.2 billion in compensation to victims, and this does not include attorney's fees or costs. So where does the CDC stand on this issue? Well, when we look at a CDC document published at the nationalacademies.org website, we see what they call a recipe for fostering public interest and high vaccine demand. And in this recipe to foster high vaccine demand, we see a list of guidelines which include Step 3, medical experts and public health authorities via the media state concern and alarm and predict dire outcomes and urge influenza vaccination. Step 4. The combination of steps 2 and 3 result in significant media interest and attention. Framing of the flu season in terms that motivate behavior as very severe, more severe than last or past years, even deadly. Step 5. Continued reports from health officials and media that influenza is causing severe illness and or affecting lots of people, helping foster the perception that many people are susceptible to a bad case of influenza. Visible/tangible examples of the seriousness of the illness, for example, pictures of children, families of those affected, coming forward, and people getting vaccinated, to first motivate the latter to reinforce. Reference to and discussions of pandemic influenza along with continued reference to the importance of vaccination. Again, I am not an anti-vaxxer by any means, but when I see a massive, profit-driven, global operation which wields vast power and influence over governments who want to make vaccines mandatory and jail those who dare to ask questions, which is then propagandized by the media and sold to the public through fear and intimidation, I must resist. Now, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I hope you all keep this information in mind when they roll out this new coronavirus vaccine in the coming weeks. And I hope you all share this video before my channel is removed again by YouTube. Now remember, all of my reports can be found at BitChute. I'll leave a link below. And you can also find my work at activistpost.com. Be sure to follow me on Twitter. I'm Spiro. Thank you for watching.
Do we blame the anti-vax movement for that?
Well, yes.
Some are calling for penalties like higher healthcare premiums, even jail time.
These anti-vaxxers, they're crazy. They're wearing tinfoil hats.
These outbreaks are due to the anti-vaccine movement.